Hello, my name's Ralph and welcome back to the channel. It's my time, let's go. Today we're going to be working away on Gus's shovel head, and we've got the top end of the motor apart, and now we're going to get the bottom apart and get it out of the bike. For all those that are new to our channel, do subscribe. It helps our channel to grow, and we appreciate it very much, and we're trying to grow to bring you more information. So hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. If you don't know how to do it, a lot of people don't. You have to have a Google password. If you're on YouTube, anybody that's on YouTube knows that they have a Google password. So if you don't have one, just go to Google, enter your email, make a password, and then you can click on all the subscribe buttons or any other ones that you want. So with that out of the way, today, let's get at this, and we're gonna tear the primary off, and we're gonna tear the motor out, and see what else we're into. All right, let's go. So now we're gonna get the primary off, and I always like to go around and loosen the screws off, to make sure they're not tight. We've drained the primary out already, so we know the primary is empty. And we have the little bolt for the primary. And what we're gonna do is stick that right back in. We've covered our primary plug with Teflon tape, and we're gonna put it back in there now that we're all drained out, so that we don't forget where that little plug is. Sounds dumb, but it can get lost. All right, got a little container for all our screws so that we don't lose them. And I always like to leave the top one in there as your last bolt, this one here. You can already see it starting to move here, and they fall right off. Sort of mucky in there. So we'll wash that all out before we put it back on the bike. Get it cleaned up, all the old stuff out. And we'll just set that aside for now. All different spring sets in this. It's a 3-stud clutch. Wow. I noticed when I take it off here, it didn't have the electric start hooked up. There's supposed to be a brass ring on here, on this piece here, and there wasn't any, so we'll have to be sure to get a brass ring and thrust washer and put it in there. I'm looking in here and I see a few different things. I see this pressure plate, which I'd have to say I'm not familiar with. It's a different kind of setup with the rubber ring around it. So, first we need our little hoo-ha for here. Sometimes I use this, and it's just a Springer top collar and another collar and a little washer to go in there. So you can find the pieces that you need to make yourself something that's a little bigger than this, and that will enable you to get the clutch off. Just loosen that nut off. It should screw off the threaded part. If it doesn't, you take it off while you're working on it. Screw that back in just a little ways. You just need enough thread to put the nut back on. Okay. Before I tighten it up, now, although the clutch seems to be working okay in this bike as far as the handle feels, I'm going to check it with the calipers just to see what the setting is on the distance on here, so I will know for my own reference. Where's the back of the plate is on the rear of it. So we should go to the back of the plate, and it should be close to 13/16 to an inch here. 900. Okay. So we just tighten this in. Enough so we can get the clutch nuts off of it. Tighten that in, they should be loose. This one still has an original style 3-stud in it. We should be able to pull that right off. And there we go. The whole assembly will come out if you put a collar on here of some sort, and then you're not fooling with all the springs. This one has different springs in it for some reason, and I'm not quite sure why. I always like to sort of keep them the way they came out. Stacked up. And they're getting down there, but they're usable. I'll set those aside. Now, we're going to get my tool and see if I can break this nut loose. So we're looking in here, and somebody's taken the time to safety wire very nicely. Not necessary, but shows somebody's taken some time here. We'll just loosen that up so we can drop this down in here. Get a jam bar. Go. Gotta love those new tools. Looks good. Now, we need to get our lock nut off. There's little tabs in behind it. It almost looks like we got one tab. All right, have to get something to get that in. So now we're going to try and get it off. There's a small tab in here that's locked into the clutch hub. And we'll just give that a tap. You only have one on it, which I would always try to get 2 or 3. But it appears they just have one. Okay. We need to get our tool. Now these nuts are left-hand thread. They're going to go this way. So, put our little tool on here. It'll hold our hub in place so that it can't move while we try to get this nut off with the left-hand thread. These are generally an inch and 1/8 nut. She's on there. I just want to double check, make sure all my clips are out. 1, 2, 3, 4. And they are. And there we go. So we've got the small nut out, and this has a single seal in it. The depth of these nuts in here will allow you to put double seals in here to help for better sealing. So that's something that we're going to do. With that clutch hub nut, now and we're going to have to pull it. Okay. So we've got our little puller here, and it has a hole in it. This push rod sticks out of the hub here, and we don't want to push on that. So if you have the wrong kind of puller, what will happen is you'll push that rod out, and you'll push that rod right through the, and break your kicker cover on the other side. So you've got to be careful with that. Okay, stick this back on. That'll just help hold it in place. Make sure we're in there. In there a ways. So we can get the nuts on. And I usually put these nuts on backwards, just so they'll get a better grip if there's not much straight kicking out. Just loosen it off. You want to make sure to get these nice and straight so that your clutch hub pulls evenly. All right. Okay. Got our sockets finally, and we're ready to pull it off. Like I say, when you're going to tighten this thing, you're going to be going to the right. So you need that support there, that way, to keep it from spinning. We've got our nut out, lock tabs, so we should just be able to put some pressure on that, and it pops right out just like that. If it doesn't pop out, you can always take a little hammer and give it a rap on the end of that, and it will help it pop off. We just take our nuts off, put them back in our container. That off. Tool out. Now with everything loosened, and make sure this nut here is unthreaded from the back. There we go. You can feel it come out and the little piece is falling down in the back. So what we're going to do now is pull a whole assembly out in one unit. We're trying to keep it all together and keep the running of the chain in the specific direction that it's always been running in, or as long as we get our hands on it. Yeah, there we go. We'll set that aside. I'm just going to stick the nut bag in there on that, so we know it's there. Now, sometimes just a little tap with something stuck like that, and just wiggle it around and tap it, and it should come out. In behind here, we can see the rotor, and we have this piece. In behind it is a small spacer washer, and that's to help align your running gear together. So you make sure to keep that stuff together and you don't lose that spacer washer, or you'll have to go through all setting it up and trying to get it right. So our gasket seems to be stuck on there really well, so I'm not going to peel it off. Okay, we need to remove our starter, and on these particular models is an earlier model, and you've got a starter bolt inside here, right there. And that is one of your starter mounts. Most of them have the bolts on the outside, 2 bolts, to make it easy access. But this one, these particular years, some of them, 78, 9, 80, 81, 82, somewhere in there, they've changed it. So we're just going to go around and start by loosening this one off. We'll put that in here. I'm going to go around the other side and get the 7/16 bolt off of the other end of the starter. It's a long extension. And there, by reaching in the other side with this long extension, the 7/16 on the end of it, I can get the other bolt out of the other side. Pay particular attention to washers or anything that's on there to make sure that the bolts are the proper length. Let's see, 9/16 to get up like that. break these ones loose. Little 12 point. Go. Those are off. So 2 bolts in the front, 2 bolts there, 2 bolts there, and 2 bolts there. We've disconnected the starter, so we should be free of everything. So we've got all the bolts out, and we tried breaking it loose, but it's a little bit tight. So I went around the back side and gave it a little smack with a piece of wood and a hammer, just lightly. Not enough to break the case, but just to start some movement. Once you break the seal on whatever's holding it, then it should come out. Just keep working it nice and easy. And things will come out for you. But don't beat and pry hard on it. That should come right out with it. There we go. All right. So when you take things apart, it's a good time to inspect things and not run into them later and realize what's there, so that you have a chance to fix it before you have to reassemble the engine or any other part. And if you don't look and check things, you'll miss things that may be behind that you should have fixed. Right now we're looking at the transmission sprocket here, and I want to show you. This whole nut is loose. This whole tranny sprocket is not locked in. So we're gonna have to try to open those tabs up a little bit. I put a wrench on it. We better have a look. Again, just one tab on there. I've seen that before. And guys think one will hold it, but that's not the ticket. It's probably just gonna come right off. Yep. Not tight at all. There just right. I don't have the wheel up far enough. And I want to look in behind. It just seems to be more dirt than anything. So we're gonna go get ourselves a new clutch hub lock washer, so I can torque that on there, and then that problem will be out of the way. So we got a new lock tab for it, and we're gonna put that on. These are what they call super nuts. They were a big nut, and they fit in some, but they don't fit in some others. Some they rub in the back. But it has a small oil seal here that fits on the main shaft and helps to cut down on the oiling problems. One job at a time. So I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite on that. Thread. And again, it's left-hand thread. It says 105 to 120 pounds, but I don't know whether we're going to get that with it like this. Okay, let's see if we can get her to 120 pounds. The back wheel's trying to turn, so we're just going to stick a little bar across the swing arm there. And that should hold it enough if it tries to turn on us before we can get the 120 pounds on it. 5 pounds of meat. I think we got it. It's hard to get a bite on it because the super nut is so thin that our tool doesn't want to go all the way on it. But we're looking at 105. There we are. Okay, so now we'll go along and lock up the small lock tabs on here and make sure that they're seated. Jack it up and turn that around a little so I can get at them. It's kind of kinked over that corner. But I like to try to get everything down that I can get on it. It is hard to get it around that corner, and they don't like to go. And even if it just locks a little bit of it, it will help. There we go. That one ain't pretty, but it's locked in there. And now all our nuts are locked in 3 places. I see a lot of bikes with loose transmission sprockets that only have 1 tab on them and they think that's going to be good enough. It's not good enough. If you can get 2 and 3, force them on there, lock that thing up. Because if it's just 1, it'll wiggle back and forth just like you've seen it there. Because that 1 tab takes nothing to bend it up. So, of course it moves, then your sprocket comes loose, then you start leaking oil. Develop all kinds of problems. But now, we have them all locked in. So now we got to get the bolts loosened up and pull the case out. There we go. Go over this way. And lift it out. There we go. Now we're ready to head over to the bench and take the cases apart and take the flywheels apart and clean everything up and start right from the bottom and go up to the top. So if you enjoyed our video today, like, subscribe, ring the bell. Do those things. It helps our channel to grow, and we appreciate it very much. Every day we're growing more and more thanks to you people out there. So stick with us, enjoy some more videos off our channel, and we'll see you soon.